Hi, and welcome to Paper Route Scrapbooking. I'm Nadine, and today I'll be showing you how to piece together the layered embellishments and titles that I cut out for my layout. Okay, so let's get started. Today we are going to put together these layered pieces from the Baby Mine kit. So my first little tip and trick is that if your mats are starting to get not too sticky, the purple tape is a great way, or even just using washi, to just stick down, make sure it doesn't come up on the corners. Okay, so that's the first one. And what else do I want to tell you today? So I'm going to just stack these into little piles of the ones that go together. I also want to just say that it's a good idea to get some kind of paper down underneath of your workspace to protect your desk if you don't have like a craft mat. Or even if you do, the glue when you're doing this does often get onto your work surface, and so if you don't want to have you know, like sticky glue stuff on your craft mat, it might be a good idea to just get just to get the piece of paper down under that. Or sometimes what I do is I just grab a scrap piece of paper out of my recycling bin, like I just have one here, and I just set that down on top of my craft mat so that it doesn't get glue on it, because I don't like that, and I don't always want to spend my time in my craft room cleaning up my craft mat. I'd rather recycle a piece of paper. And this mat or this paper that I'm using today is like a like one of those ones that you would use like at a crop, and I actually bought these at a crop. They didn't want to take them back with them, so they were getting rid of them, and so I bought a whole pad of them for $5. Now I know Close to My Heart makes something similar. I know that I saw at Michael's We Are Memory Keepers, I think, what had some that you could buy there, and so that might be a good place to go if you're looking for something like this. But like, this is not just one that I peeled off of the craft mat, like off of the paper pad for it. I just after I had some friends over scrapbooking, and everybody got one of these so that I didn't get stuff on my tables and desks and whatever. The ones that weren't too sticky and whatever, I just rolled them up and put them in my closet, so that for stuff like this, especially for filming, because if I just used like a different color work surface and then put a white sheet of paper down, I don't know, I thought it would be easier and less shuffling, I guess, if I just put this big sheet down. So that's what I'm using today, a recycled piece. These craft mats that cutting mats that you're looking at, I got from Amazon, and they're not made by Cricut, but they were less expensive. And this is the first time I'm using them, but they seem to be working just fine. So I will see if I can find them again and link them below if anybody else is looking for more affordable options for cutting mats, because they can get expensive. And also on here, for this particular project, I cut everything on a separate mat. But a lot of the time what I'll do is I'll just use one or two mats and prep one mat while one mat is cutting, and then pull these things off while it is running through the cutting of the previous paper. So there we go. And so I know a lot of people use like the tools that are meant for this, but I just use my fingernails, and the only time that I didn't use my fingernails was when I had manicured hands, which I don't usually have, but for special occasions I do, and then I keep them for a while because it's pretty. And but most of the time I just use my fingernails. And then what I do use for tools is this this spatula one that they sell, and mostly just to take off like this kind of stuff. Especially, like I said, I haven't used these mats before, so they're very sticky. And these pieces are pretty tiny. I'll probably find them all over the carpet later, because they do spring up sometimes when you're scraping them off your mat. So there we go. There's another. This paper that I used, I picked everything from my scrap bin except for this paper that I needed a full 12-inch length, because I couldn't find anything in the color I wanted that was 12 inches long, and I needed it to cut the 11.5. But everything else came from my scrap bin. Now this paper was really kind of thin, and so it's got some mistakes on it, and that's okay. I will work with it. It's partly my fault because I forgot to switch the setting from cardstock to paper, and so it didn't cut properly, but that's all my bad. So, and then I did remember to use the light grit mat for the patterned paper, but there we go. There we go. Where did I put everything? And I only have a couple of light grit mats because I tend to mostly cut cardstock or like cardstock texture, like weight paper. Now here, I kept this one on here for two reasons. One, because I wanted to show you that one of the tips that I probably should have used with my more well-worn mats is that the mat can go into the machine in either direction. So for example, for this one, this is the top, but I put it in this way and it cut that way. The other reason I left this on here was to show you that if you don't adjust your settings, not only do you get messy, but you get where it doesn't cut all the way through. So I didn't realize, I don't think, how thick this cardstock scrap was, but it's like very thick. So this was a cardstock setting and it didn't cut through. This was the poster board setting and it did cut through. So if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? So I just turned it around and turned the paper around and cut again. So yeah, I don't know where that scrap came from, but holy, it's thick stuff. And little flowery bits. And my hearts. Oh, I'm kind of off camera, aren't I? Sorry. But I do like the thicker paper, and it's got, I don't think you can see that on camera, but it's got kind of like a shimmer to it. It's pretty. So great way to use up your scraps too, right? To be making these layered embellishment bits. Especially if you have been scrapbooking a long time and you have a bit of a... Oh my gosh, I apologize for the noise. But I don't like to leave my mats uncovered because they get stuff on them. Great way to use up that colored cardstock if you've been scrapbooking for a long time and have, you know, colored cardstock that just sits in your stash. This is a great way to use some of that too. You can find a lot of 8.5 by 11 cardstock at garage sales and thrift shops as well. Okay, so I got them all off the mats. And the next thing I'm going to do is to group them together. So this is all title pieces. The borders don't have any extra bits and pieces, and neither do the flourishes. So those are all finished. You don't have to layer anything. We got some hearts. Here's a big heart. We got our letters. I'll go with Oh, now they're stuck. Letters go with our title pieces. There we go. Here's another heart. Heart, letters, floral, more florals. There we go. And hearts. And there we go. So this heart layers in behind here and then pops up on here. And I could just eliminate that step because I did change my background pieces to white, but I like the dimension that it gives, so I'm gonna leave it. And then our little elephants. Okay, so I can move these out of our way because I don't need to put anything together there. Now, one of the things that I like to do, I'm sorry, did I bump the camera? Why is it so weird? Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, one of the things that I like to do is to take my top layer and to ink the edges of it because it just gives that kind of like flat paper embellishment a little bit of dimension. So I picked out my ink colors already for our little elephants. I'm going to use spun sugar to ink around the edges. And for this kind of like job, I guess, I prefer to use the finger daubers because they're just a little bit more control for the littler spaces. And I don't even know if you'll notice like what a difference it makes at first because it's quite a subtle thing, but I notice it when I put them together. If I don't do this part, that they kind of have like kind of a boring, it just gives it a little bit of lift, dimension, definition, I don't know what you call it. I'm not an artist, I don't know all the terms, but and especially with something as soft as spun sugar. So I don't know if you can see the difference in those two. It doesn't really show, does it? But it just gives it a little bit more interest, I guess. So I'm going to do the inside of his ear. There we go. I'm not going to worry about the eyes because I'm going to do something different with those. So I know that some other people I've watched that do this sort of, this is going to make my camera wiggle a lot, so maybe I'll have to do some of this off camera. I know other people, instead of using ink, will use chalk. So that's another option if you don't have distress inks in your scrapbook stash. If you have one of those little chalk palettes, that works too. Does the same thing, just gives it that little bit of dimension. Okay, so I don't feel like you need to watch me do that to all of these pieces, so I'm just going to pause the camera and I'll come back after they're all inked up and we will layer them and glue them together. Okay, so I inked the edges of all my pieces. I hope you can kind of see that a little bit. I know you can kind of see it now that it's on the gray around there and the edges of the pink hearts, and I glued some of the things together, but I thought we would do the title together. So this is the glue that I use, the two-way glue pen from Zig and Kuretake. So it's a Zig Memory System two-way glue pen, and I just buy these at Michael's with my coupons, and coupons are not as good as they used to be, hey? Like, does anybody else feel that way? I feel like there used to be like 50 and 60% off coupons, and now it's like the most you can get, I think, is 30. And then it's like the prices have not gone down at all. Everything seems so overpriced. I don't know. Life's expensive. Anyhow, that's a topic for another day maybe, hey? So I just dab the glue on the back and of the patterned paper, and then I try to line it up as best as I can, especially on here without getting my head in your view. Okay, there we go. And there are always going to be imperfections. That's part of having something handmade, right? So like if you can see, for example, remember when we pulled the baby elephant off the mat, he was kind of ripped here. But I don't think that's going to really be noticeable. His tail a little bit too, you can see the gray poking through. But honestly, if somebody's looking that close at my layout and wants to like be annoyed by that, that's, first of all, that's kind of weird. And second of all, yeah, then don't look. it's homemade. So, and then I just want to get these letters down. So these glue pens, I find them the best for this like layered stuff, just because it goes on like a pen, right? Like I can dab it on, or I can draw it on, or whatever. And it's a bit messy though, but it's not as messy as like white glue from a fine liner. Like I love my fine liner, I use it all the time. But for this, I just find the felt tip so much more easy. And I think it's because it's like coloring, right? So I like color in the back of the thing. And I also love these tweezers. So like Cricut makes their own tweezers, and I own them, and I've tried them many times, but these like fine point, I think, yeah, close to my heart, like the fine point scissors, fine point tip, I don't know what they call it. It's just so precise, I guess, and I feel like that's what I need when I'm doing stuff like this. So here is my title. It's looking good, hey? And I'm not looking back at what she had made, but I will sometimes. So quite often I will keep the Cricut file opened, like, you know, where we designed the whole page. I'll keep that open to put the pieces together, but this one wasn't complicated enough for me to need to do that. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but I did not cut out the circle for the inside of the flower because I decided I didn't want to use paper there. I want to use something else. And what else can I tell ya? So make sure you use a protective covering. When you're getting the pieces off the mat, just put them together with the things that they go with. And then inking the edges. I think you can probably see it a bit better even on, maybe not, on this where you can see like the different color on the edge. I don't know, I think it just gives it a little bit of visual interest. And then gluing it all together. Like I said, feel free to like refer to your document in order to get it right, but I don't when it's this simple. Sometimes it depends how many layers are on it. Sometimes I do. So the last thing I wanted to show you was the eyes. So these little eyes, I mean, it's cute enough, whatever, but I really love adding eyes to my little characters. So a long time ago, I found a printable for eyes from, I think it was from Berry something, Tear Bears was the thing. It was a paper piecing website, and I love it. Had all of these little eyes in different colors. So there's like brown, a different brown, bright green, light green, blue, and then these are little noses. So I printed a bunch out and cut them all up, and I put them into this little container that I just got at Michael's, and so I keep them, and I've never needed to reprint. Like, there's just so many of them, as you can see. So like this is just one color, but that website no longer existed, so I went on the hunt and found one that still had a printable available, so I can link it below, and it's called myscrapchick.com. And so this printable, this is just one sheet of it because I didn't feel like I needed to print the whole thing. But it doesn't come with the noses, but it does come with blue eyes, green eyes, and brown eyes. So I'm going to put the eyes onto my little elephants and just show you what a difference it makes on the little animal characters. So just put the glue on just like I do with the rest of it, and I printed them on cardstock so they were easier to cut out, and yeah. So do you see how it just like adds a little bit of personality kind of to your little characters? So I will link that printable below, and I just think that that is so super cute. Okay, so that's it for today for putting together our layered pieces to put onto our page. Next day I will choose the background and start putting this page together and add my photo. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you did, please click that like button to give me a thumbs up. Hit the show more button under the video description if you'd like to find things about the things that we talked about today. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below and I will be sure to get back to you just as soon as I can. If you'd like to see more of my videos, it would make my day to have you as a subscriber if you aren't already. Just click the subscribe button and be sure to hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when a new video goes up. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.